Good morning, folks. Here we are, day 4 on Thursday, March 26th. Today, we're going to learn about headers, the different types, and I'll go into that as you pull out your packets. Hopefully, everyone is doing that and following along. You should be on Objective 5, where the headers are, and you can follow from there, and I'll use those as references. Also, if you're in the other packet, you look on 2.30, you will see the headers and you can follow along and go from there. They will have illustrations and I will pull those up as we're going along. But again, we're going to work on the different types of headers. These are the pages if you'd like to follow along. We will get through this. All right, here we go. So, different types of headers. One of the biggest one, the most expensive, is the truss header. That's what we used on the Habitat House. And the Habitat House, remember, they had the webs, and in the center, they were able to run the pipes and everything else, electric wire, everything. They had chases right down the middle. The only thing that you have to worry about in the trusses is when you pull wire or do anything, those gussets are very sharp. Okay, but they're engineered, they're designed to hold a lot more weight. The spans, I should say, same amount of weight, but longer spans all the way across. Like the Habitat House, it held all 20 feet all the way across, and they were 16 inches on center, but the cords were 3.5 inches wide. Okay, next one, excuse me, the next one is the solid header. Most of the solid headers that you deal with are like post and beam houses, old barns, stuff like that. They have some tongue and groove they go into. Ship mill, right mills, they used to do that all the time. And we will literally, that's where you can see where the headers are there. The next one is a solid header. Oh, we just did solid header, is a build-up header. That's the one that we did at the house, where you build up, or like our girders, you take one 2x10 or 2x8, whatever for headers, then you nail another one in between them to get the 3.5 inches. You'll take 1/2 inch plywood, put it in between, and again, and that will be you will be building it up so it's the same width as the outside house. If you did the 5.5 inch walls, there's two different ways that I've done. 5.5 inch walls is you use 3 members and then 1 inch of blue inch foam board, so that gives a higher R rating. I've also done it where you take one layer, 1 2x10, then you will take a piece of plywood, rip it down the same width, nail that in, then another 2x10, then you'll nail in another 1/2 inch plywood, and then another 2x10. So you have a full 5.5 inches, and then you put your 2x6 on the top header, and then that will be your build-up header, just as like a build-up girder or beam. The next one is a steel I-beam. Now the steel I-beam, same sort of idea that you get across bridges. It goes from one span to the other all the way across. A lot of people use this in some houses if they want the open concept. As we discussed before, I used mine in my garage, so I didn't have a lolly column sitting in my garage, so when I opened my doors, I didn't constantly hit them into the center lolly column. I had to span all the way across and put the floor joist right on top, so it was actually a drop I-beam, which carried the load. Again, the only thing with steel, the only thing that hurts steel are the corrosion, where there's a lot of moisture, and if you, which shouldn't be in a house, but if you put it in a garage or something like that, the only other thing is fire. Once you have a fire, you lose the tensile strength of the steel I-beam. That's one of the only things that can really do it, besides, salt on roads and stuff like that over bridges, the truss form. And the last one is what we did, number 50, on 57, we did the box headers. Remember, we took a 2x6, put it on the top, and then we did two 2x10s, and then we had a 2.5 inch spacer. That was strictly so we can put insulation or blown in insulation up in there, so we literally know what to do. And on the page, on your Objective 5.0, you can literally see how they do the everything from the build-up headers to the headers with a load bearing with the cripple studs up above it. and you can also see the box style header that we did. The truss headers are below, just two different styles of trusses, and the other one's a steel I-beam, letting you know it could be the big one that they put wood on top, that you actually can use the Ramset or Hilti nails and put it on top, or you can use bolts and screw them down so you have a plate to go on to, and then you can just have a regular steel I-beam if you're putting steel floor joists or concrete pad over the top, which you put webs. And the last one, again, which we talked about, is the box header, which we did. This one is completely boxed in, and you have to put insulation in as you go and put it up. The only problem is, again, you want to make sure that there's no cold or dead spots in there. Okay? If you have any questions on any of these headers, please let me know. I'm available at all times, and either on Discord and to touch base. I'm live there all day until 3, or you can send me an email. Okay? Hopefully I covered the headers as well as I can without bringing you into the lab, which is no longer a possibility. I wish I could, because then I could show you all the different styles of headers that we've done. Okay, next, as we flip the page, we're going over to centers. So you should be pulling out your day 4 worksheet, okay, on centers. So what's going to be done is I'm going to cover a couple of these. This will be your work, and then when you get done, all I want you to do today is find the centers on these. You're probably asking me, why are you trying to find centers? Why in math? So what I did is I pulled out one of the handy dandy, I don't know if you can see this up close, but each architect, you will literally see the centers with the measurements all the way around. These happen to be for the posts, but they do them from the center of the windows, center of the doors. That's where they take their measurements, and instead of going room by room. So there is no second guess. So if you have a 2-6 door, you'll go right in the center, and you got a 12-foot room. You go 6 feet dead center of the room, 2-6. Now we know it's 2 8.5. So literally you go from the center 1'4" and then 1'4" the other way. Then you put your jacks. That's your rough opening, and then the jacks, which are your trimmer studs. Then you go to put your regular studs or king studs in right beside it, nail them in, boom, there's your components of the wall, and you do your openings first. A lot of architects do that, so that's why we're doing the math for the centers, okay? Again, pull ththese out. I'll do a couple of these for you and break them down to try to help you out. It's actually very simple when we do the math. I pulled out 11 foot 5 3/4. So you can get your calculator out. You can divide 11 in half. You can divide 5 in half. You can divide 3/4 in half. Could be simple for you guys. Some people, they struggle and go from there, and they don't understand. I'm going to hopefully break this down easier for you guys and go from there. So my first one is, what's half of 11? Well, I don't know. You don't know. You know what half of 10 is. That's 5, right? So 5 feet. So you line everything up, make it easy. So you know you have 5 feet left. You got 1 foot left over. What's half of 1 foot? Thank you. 6 inches. Here we go. We got 5 foot 6 inches so far. Again, the next step, you just break this down, and you can just circle this so you literally know that you broke that down. Then you can go to 5 inches. What's half of 5 inches? Well, you don't know what half of 5 inches is. What's half of 4? Well, that's 2. Doesn't go on feet. You go in inches. Here you go. 2 inches. What do you got left over? Half an inch. Half an inch. Half of an inch. Half of 1 inch is half an inch, which we've learned. Now, as I've taught you before, and we have the basics, if you take any of this 3/4 and you're saying, oh, 3/4, you can either pull out your tape, count the little lines, see how many it is, or remember, if you're cutting this in half or doubling it, you're cutting this in half or doubling, all you got to do is work with the numerator will stay the same. So if you cut it in half, the 3 stays the same. the denominator is the only thing that doubles. You double that. If you're cutting in half, you double the denominator, you leave the numerator the same. So it's 3/8. So we'll simply add all this up. There's only one column. We put this underneath, and I'll slide it over here for us. We only have 5 feet. 5 feet left. 6 and 2. We can add 6 and 2, I hope. All right. If you don't, use your fingers. 6 and 2 would be 8 inches. All right, now the tough part. You take 1/2 inch and 3/8. This one would be, some of you can literally let you know, and you can go right off the bat and say, okay, that's 7/8, because that's what it is. 7/8 of an inch. This little should be on the end here. 7/8 of an inch. If you don't know, you turn this 1/2 inch into 8s. How many 8s are there in 1/2 an inch? Well, we know from this, if we got to get to 8, if this is an 8, we times this by 4. Whatever you do to the bottom, you got to do to the top, which is 4/8. 4 plus 3 is 7, which is 7/8. So as you pull out on the first one, you can do that and show all your work. It's simple. Or you can get on the calculator and do it, and it can come up decimals. Or if you use your construction calculator, which you should have, this makes it much easier. But you should do a couple of these, breaking them down on the side before you use the calculator, just so you know the sense. Some of these are simple, 2 foot and 1/2, break it in half. I didn't try to make this really tough. I just wanted you guys to do this, and this would right now, I do it in your classwork. Next one, we'll break this one down. 5 foot, 3.5 inches. What's half of 5 foot? Same thing as the 11 feet here. We know it's 2 feet, right? Because that would be 4 feet. Half of 1 foot is what? Thank you. 6 inches. There we go. Now we line this off. We can circle this off. Then we could go, which I didn't do up here, the 3 inches. What's half of 3 inches? Thank you very much. It's 1.5 inches. Okay. If you don't know what 3 inches is, go to an even number, down an even number 2. You got 1 left over. That would be, half of 2 is 1, and then you have 1 over here, and half of 1 is 1/2 an inch. Again, do the same thing. Don't change this numerator, but double the denominator. What's doubling the denominator? Here we go. 1/4. Let me go back up to you, circle this. If this makes it easier for you, this literally goes from here to here. This one's here to here. And then this 1/2 an inch, you can go down, take half of a half is 1/4. Then we can figure it out. I don't know if you can still see this, so I'll pull it up on the board. You have 2 feet. 6 and 1 would be 7 inches. And then 1/2 and 1/4. You don't understand, turn this into quarters. How many quarters are there in a half? Think of a basketball game. Women's basketball is in quarters. NCAA, where men's are in half, but high school, everything is still halves, 2 halves. What's in there? Quarters. There you go. Break it up in that. So 1/2, 2 quarters, and one more quarter would be 3 quarters. Don't forget, when you're filling these out, do your feet, a line in between, and then your inches. And put your 2 hash marks, 1 hash mark, whatever the case may be. I hope this helps you all out. And then, second of all, after you do this, where it's on the 11 feet, the one that we covered right off the bat, please just go over and do the second page here. It's just more of the same sort of thing. I just want you to get used to it. It's really, really critical. So when you're doing your calculations, again, when you lay out a floor, the first thing you lay out is all the doors and windows. Then you can go back and carry out your layout, whether it's 16 inches, 2 foot on center. It really doesn't matter. Okay? I hope this helps. Again, ask any questions, and please stay safe out there. And thanks for the ones who have been emailing me, texting me, and putting on Discord. I just want to know that you're okay, healthy out there. Just give me a thumbs up or whatever. Let me know you got the homework done. That's all it's about, okay? Take care. See you later. Bye.